Hi guys, and welcome back to another painting tutorial. So today I'm going to take you through how I paint Dusk Raiders. Now these guys did eventually fall to chaos, specifically they became the Death Guard. And this was actually at the request of one of my subscribers, Phoenix Murphy, so special thanks to you, man. Alright, so just starting off over a Mechanicus Standard Grey undercoat, I'm just going to do a couple of thin coats of Mechanicus Standard Grey. Now this is mostly just because the two finishes are different to one another. So just get a smooth foundation with this and we'll move on to the next steps. So next up, I'm just going to use some Basilicanum Grey contrast. And as you can see, just putting some down on my wet palette and adding a small amount of water. And I'm just going to shade over the entirety of the power armor. Next up, I'm just going to use some DAWNSTONE, just using a makeup brush. Any round dry brush will do just fine. So as you can see, removing most of the paint on some paper towel. And just in a stippling motion, I'm just going to work some of this over the power armor, mostly just on all of the most raised areas. Now, the Dusk Raiders were once known as the red right hand of the Emperor's Justice, and therefore on their power armor they had a crimson right arm. So for the entirety of the right arm, and I'm also going to use this as a base coat for the lenses as well, to get a really nice sort of deep crimson color, I decided to mix Khorne red and ABADDON black. So just looking at a 1-1 mix for this. Just to mention as well, I'm using as usual with my more recent tutorials, my Raphael 8404 size 30 brush. This is actually just one of my older ones. As you can see, it's still holding a really good point. Just to mention as well though, as you can see, I have filled in all of the other details that are going to be like metallic colors, for example, with some black. So now moving on to finishing off the lenses, I decided just to do, I thought I'd just keep them relatively simple. The overall scheme is fairly dark as well, so I'm just going to do one highlight of Khorne red. And just a final touch of bold PYRROLE red by ACRYL. Now, if you don't own this color, Evil Sun Scarlet will work just as well. I just prefer this particular red as it is quite vibrant. And I'm actually just going to do one highlight for the crimson arm. Again, this is just because the overall scheme is quite dark, and I didn't really want to take away too much from that deep, really nice sort of deep crimson as well. So as you can see, just a little bit of stippling using Khorne red. And just a couple of edge highlights as well. I really wanted the overall scheme to look a little bit more messy, as opposed to having really sharp highlights. And this was really just going off the artwork for Dusk Raiders that I had, that I decided to work off. Next up, just using some ABADDON black, I'm just going to paint on the chapter symbol, or the Legion symbol I should say, which is effectively a half sun and a half skull. So it's important initially just to get a nice solid outline, and as always when painting details like this, you know, even if you have had a bit of practice painting, freehand painting, chapter symbols, Legion symbols, it's always good to have a reference in front of you. It just sort of makes it a little bit easier having that guide just there to sort of glance at. Now the overall appearance of this particular symbol, it is quite subtle, of course having just black over a pretty deep crimson colour. So it's not really a huge deal if you don't get it absolutely perfect. I mean, I certainly didn't in this tutorial. But of course, if you do want to really tidy it up and everything, you can just go back to that previous crimson color, or if you want it to stand out a little bit more, you can even add an outline of corn red, for example. So as you can see now, with the sun finished, I'm just moving on to the skull. So it's really important when freehand painting skulls just to get that nice initial outline, especially around the cheekbones and of course the jaw as well. Because once you have that, you're essentially just filling it in and just leaving a little bit of space for the nose and of course the eye as well. And I was pretty happy overall with how the eye was looking of the skull. However, if you want to go back and shape it a little bit differently, make it look more angry, for example, you can very well do that again with the crimson or the corn red. So I decided just to help the bolt gun stand out a little bit more, just to do one highlight of Administratum grey. So just some clean edge highlighting for this part, and also just some small scratch marks over the bolt gun as well. Next up, I'm just going to base in all of the metal parts with black metal by scale 75. So for example, of course the bolt gun here, and also the fan on the backpack, and just some other features as well, like all of the bolts across the armor. And then for all of the remaining parts that are going to have a metallic on them, I decided to use decayed metal. Now, I did change it up a little bit for the overall theme that I was going for, as opposed to the one that was available in the artwork, because I wanted to give the impression that, including the base theme as well, which I'll get to later, but I wanted to give the overall theme that they're sort of entering the Garden of Nurgle and imminently gonna be falling to chaos. Hence why I decided to choose Mantis Warrior's green contrast to shade in the entirety of all the metallics. Again, just putting some down, same as the Basilicanum grey contrast, just on my wet palette, and just adding a small amount of water as well. So as you can see as well, I've already laid down the white pumice texture paint by Vallejo. Of course, it doesn't have to be this brand. You could even, if you're painting the model separately to the base, you could use really any texture paint and just undercoat it white. However, I just found it a bit easier to do it this way. Once again, just shading in with the Mantis Warrior's green, and after having given that a bit of time to dry, I'm now just doing a simple dry brush of Dawn Yellow, as I, again, wanted to go for that sort of Nurgle vibe, fairly sickly sort of look. And now I'm just putting on some really small marks of Blood for the Blood God technical paint just over the power armor. You can really do as little or as much of this as you want. I just thought it would add a little touch more detail. And as a final touch, I'm just going to add some alien purple tiny tufts by Gamer's Grass, just using a small amount of PVA glue. As you can see, I've just put that down on my paper towel. It's usually what I like to do when I'm doing bases. I just have a small amount of paper towel there, ready to use my dry brush on, and also just a bit of PVA glue as well. And with that, the Dusk Raiders Mark III Tactical Marine is now finished. So a really simple tutorial today. Again, thanks to Phoenix Murphy for the request. I had a great time painting this one, and I'll have plenty more tutorials coming in the near future. And as always guys, if you would like to support the channel, the links will be in the description below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but if you are in Australia, the USA, or the UK, just if you're buying any of your hobby needs, it does support the channel if you use those links. So thank you very much. I will see you again in the next one.